Have you ever looked at someone you love, maybe a parent, a spouse, or even a dear friend, and just felt that something was different? Maybe they're not sick in any obvious way, but there's a quiet change in how they move, how they talk, or even how they look at the world. It's like something deep inside them has shifted, and you can't quite put your finger on it. If that's ever happened to you, you're not alone. Aging is a journey, and for most of us, it's full of wisdom, memories, and cherished moments. But there comes a point when the body begins to whisper that it's getting tired. And if we know how to listen, really listen, we can pick up on those signs before they become shouts. That's why today's conversation is so important. We're going to talk about something that's rarely spoken about out loud, but should be. We're going to gently explore the subtle signs that may suggest a person is approaching their final year of life. These signs aren't always dramatic or medical. In fact, they're often quiet and easy to overlook. But if you pay attention, they can help you provide comfort, care, and understanding during a precious time. Let's start with one of the most common, yet most misunderstood, signs: a noticeable withdrawal from social life. Now, this doesn't always mean someone is depressed. In fact, it can be very subtle. You might notice they stop answering phone calls as much. They don't seem as interested in family gatherings. Maybe they used to love chatting on the porch or having coffee with neighbors, and now they'd rather stay inside with the TV on. It's not always sadness. Sometimes it's a quiet letting go, a gentle pull inward. What's important here is not to force or pressure them to be social, but to stay gently present. Sit beside them. Watch a show together. Just being near can mean more than any words. Often, people in their final stages don't want to explain how they feel. They just want to feel safe and not alone. Another sign that often goes unnoticed is a drop in appetite. You might hear them say they're just not hungry, or that food doesn't taste the same anymore. Maybe they leave more on their plate or forget to eat entirely. This can be caused by many things: medication, changes in the digestive system, or a slowing metabolism. But when someone is moving closer to the end of life, the body often begins to shut down parts of itself that are no longer needed in the same way. Hunger fades, not necessarily because of illness, but because the body knows it doesn't need as much fuel. Instead of pushing full meals, offer small favorites. A spoonful of pudding, a warm bowl of soup, or even a single slice of toast with jam can bring more comfort than a heavy plate of food. It's not about nutrition at that point. It's about kindness, familiarity, and making them feel cared for. Now let's talk about something a little harder to notice, but incredibly telling: changes in sleep patterns. If your loved one starts sleeping much more than usual, or even staying awake through the night and napping all day, it's worth paying attention. The rhythms of the body shift as energy declines. You might notice they're more drowsy in the mornings or seem to drift off during conversations. Or maybe they wake up disoriented or restless in the middle of the night. What's key here is not trying to fix their schedule. Sometimes we worry and think they need more structure, or let's get them back on a normal routine. But in truth, this is often the body's way of slowly preparing to rest for good. Offer comfort, a cozy blanket, soft lighting, or quiet music. Think less about a strict sleep pattern and more about peaceful rest. These early changes, pulling back from social life, eating less and sleeping more, are not always signs that the end is near. Sometimes they're just signs of aging. But when these changes happen together, and especially if they come on gradually but noticeably over several months, they may be the body's quiet way of saying, "I'm getting ready." And while that can feel heartbreaking to face, there's also something incredibly beautiful in it. It's a reminder to slow down, to be present, and to fill the remaining time with warmth, love, and dignity. Because in the end, it's not about how many years we have. It's about the moments that truly matter. Now that we've touched on those early signs, let's continue exploring the more emotional and physical changes that can gently appear during this tender time. Another sign that often goes unnoticed, yet carries deep emotional weight, is a sudden shift in mood or personality. You might notice your loved one becoming more reflective, sometimes even detached or indifferent about things they used to care deeply about. Maybe they stop commenting on their favorite TV show, but they don't seem bothered when the mail piles up. Sometimes, they may become unusually calm or surprisingly agitated. These aren't just mood swings. They can be part of something more profound, the mind and spirit beginning to detach from the day-to-day concerns of life. This doesn't mean they've given up. It often means they're turning inward, making peace with their own journey. Some people start to talk about seeing loved ones who've passed on, or they may express a desire to go home, even if they're already in their own house. This kind of talk can be confusing for families, even alarming, but it's more common than you might think. Rather than correcting them or dismissing these thoughts, try leaning in. Ask them what they mean. Listen with your heart. Often, just being heard can ease their spirit more than any medicine ever could. You may also begin to notice changes in their skin tone or physical appearance that seem to happen quietly. Hands and feet might feel cooler more often, or their skin might look a little pale or bluish, especially at the fingertips or around the lips. These are signs the circulation isn't working as strongly as it used to. The body, in its wisdom, starts sending blood and energy to the most essential areas first, gently letting go of what it no longer needs to maintain. These changes are usually painless, but they're clear markers that the body is slowing down on a deep level. At this point, comfort becomes more important than ever. Keep warm blankets nearby. Hold their hands often. Gentle touch, stroking their hair, massaging their feet, can bring both physical ease and emotional connection. It reminds them that they're still here, still loved, still cherished. Another tender change is something many caregivers notice only after they've had time to reflect. A person nearing the end of life often begins to talk, or think, more about the past than the present. Old memories come up more often. They may bring up stories you've never heard before, or moments from childhood that seem oddly vivid. It might seem like they're lost in the past, but what's really happening is something beautiful. They're organizing their life, emotionally and spiritually, tying together the pieces of their journey. If you can, join them in that process. Ask questions. Listen without rushing. Even if the stories don't always make perfect sense, what matters is that they are being shared. In those moments, they're not just reliving the past, they're passing it on. And those stories will become a part of you, too. These subtle signs are not meant to cause fear, but to open a space for tenderness and understanding. Watching someone you love go through these changes can be deeply emotional, but it's also a chance to slow down, to say what needs to be said, to give and receive love in its purest form. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to fix anything. Just being there, truly present, is one of the greatest gifts you can offer. As we continue this conversation, let's gently turn our attention to the physical body again and explore a few more quiet, yet powerful, signals that the final chapter may be unfolding. As we move forward, there's another sign that's both subtle and unmistakable, a noticeable decline in mobility. Perhaps your loved one has always been independent, moving around easily, taking care of themselves. But now, they seem slower to get up from the chair, or they seem to struggle when walking short distances. The shuffle of their steps may become more pronounced, or they may rely more on a walker or cane than before. At first, this can seem like nothing more than the normal aches and pains that come with aging. But over time, if they're consistently showing signs of increased fatigue or reluctance to move at all, it could be a sign that their body is growing weaker. The muscles and joints, as well as the cardiovascular system, may not be getting the blood flow and oxygen they once did. It's not just about physical limitations. It's about the body's natural process of conserving energy. As the body prepares for its final years, it often begins to hold on to that energy more closely, reducing the need for excess movement. This may make your loved one seem withdrawn or even more comfortable lying down than sitting up or standing. While this change can feel frustrating, it's important to create an environment that accommodates this slowing down. Rather than urging them to walk farther or push through the discomfort, offer assistance gently. Maybe they need a cushion to help them sit up more comfortably, or a footrest when they're reclining. The goal isn't to fix the situation, but to make sure they are supported in a way that honors their comfort and dignity. Closely tied to this decline in mobility is a change in posture. People nearing the end of life often start to stoop or hunch more. Their shoulders may round forward, and their back may become less straight, as though they're preparing to curl inward. This is due to a combination of physical weakness and changes in balance. It's also related to the body's natural tendency to turn inward in preparation for what's coming. If you notice this, it can be heartbreaking, especially if your loved one had been strong and upright their entire life. But rather than focusing on what's been lost, try focusing on ways to make them comfortable in their new posture. Pillows or supports for the back can help them feel more at ease. Make sure they're positioned properly in bed or in a chair so they can avoid unnecessary strain or discomfort. It's also important to remember that even if their mobility has slowed down, their mind may still be sharp and full of wisdom. Sometimes, we tend to treat a person's physical decline as if it means they're mentally slipping too. But in reality, many people experience physical decline without their cognitive abilities being affected at all. In fact, many older adults become even more emotionally aware as their bodies slow down. This means that while your loved one may need more assistance getting around, they may still want to engage in deep conversations about the past, the present, or their hopes for the future. Continue to speak with them and involve them in decisions when appropriate. Their perspective is just as valuable as ever. As you notice these physical signs, it's also important to pay attention to changes in their breathing. This is another sign that's easy to overlook, but it can be crucial in understanding the body's transition. You may notice their breathing becomes more shallow or irregular. Sometimes it may even seem labored, especially during sleep. This is because the lungs are no longer working as efficiently as they once did. Oxygen exchange becomes more difficult, and the body starts to breathe more slowly. This can be a hard thing to witness, especially if your loved one has always had a strong, steady breath. But it's important to remember that this is simply another way the body is adapting. Rather than focusing on the difficulty, try offering reassurance. Make sure their space is calm, quiet, and peaceful. A little extra attention to comfort, such as positioning pillows to support their breathing, can go a long way. Sometimes, you may notice a subtle change in their ability to focus or track time. They might forget the day of the week more often or seem confused about what time it is. This is not necessarily a sign of dementia, but rather the body's way of letting go of its need to stay firmly tethered to the clock. Time becomes less of a concern when the body is winding down. This is another opportunity for compassion. You don't need to remind them of the time. They may not even realize they've forgotten. Instead, gently redirect their attention, offer a soft smile, and reassure them that everything is okay. These are just a few of the physical and emotional signs that someone may be nearing the end of their life. It's not always easy to watch, but every one of these changes is a natural part of the aging process. And while it may feel overwhelming at times, it's important to remember that each sign is an opportunity to provide comfort, compassion, and presence. As we continue to explore this delicate subject, let's talk about one of the most profound and often overlooked signs: the desire for solitude. The desire for solitude is one of the most deeply human signals that someone may be nearing the end of their journey. It doesn't always look like loneliness. In fact, it's often the opposite. Many people who sense that their time is limited begin to crave quiet moments. You might notice your loved ones spending more time alone in their room, turning off the television, or simply sitting in silence. They may not want visitors as often, and even when they do welcome someone in, the conversation tends to be softer, more reflective. This pull towards solitude isn't something to be feared or interrupted. It's a natural and even spiritual instinct. Just as a tired traveler pauses before the final stretch of a long road, many older adults begin to seek peace and stillness. Their senses may become more sensitive, their need for stimulation less urgent. What they want most may not be more company, but more calm. For families and caregivers, this can be a difficult shift to witness. You may feel rejected or worry that something's wrong, but often it's just that the person is preparing mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Instead of pulling them back into busyness, try honoring that space. Sit quietly nearby, hold their hand, offer a soft word or gentle smile. Just knowing you're there can be a powerful comfort. Alongside this retreat inward, you may also observe a remarkable clarity. Some people, even those who have been confused or disoriented, experience moments of surprising awareness and peace. They might speak with great meaning. They may say they feel ready, or that they've made peace with their life. Others might recall long-forgotten memories or express forgiveness they never spoke of before. These are often referred to as moments of lucidity. And while they don't happen to everyone, when they do, they can be profound. If your loved one begins to say things that sound like goodbyes, don't panic. Instead, listen. These words often carry deep emotional truth. They may not always be about literal departure, but about wrapping up the stories of their lives. Sometimes, they might express a need to say something meaningful to each family member. Other times, they may simply want to be held. Let them lead. These moments can be incredibly intimate, and you don't have to say anything perfect in return. Just being there, really being there, can say more than words ever could. As the body continues its natural process of slowing down, you might also notice physical signs like swelling in the hands or feet, or the skin becoming more fragile. These changes are gentle reminders that the systems we rely on, circulation, digestion, muscle tone, are no longer working as efficiently. Small bruises might appear more easily. Their hands may feel cooler. Even their voice might grow fainter. These are not medical emergencies. They're part of the quiet unraveling of a body that's worked hard for many decades. Respond with love. Soft blankets, warm socks, lip balm for dry lips. These little comforts speak volumes. Your tenderness can soothe not just the body, but the soul. One of the final signs that often signals a person may be nearing their last months or weeks is a profound fatigue that doesn't seem to lift. It's not just being sleepy, it's a weariness that seems to settle deep in their bones. Tasks that once took minutes may now take an hour or not happen at all. They may doze through conversations or need to rest after the simplest activities. Even speaking might take effort. This kind of tiredness is more than just physical. It's the body asking for rest, not just for now, but in a lasting way. The best thing you can offer is patience. Let them rest when they need to. Don't rush them. Let silence fill the spaces where conversation used to live. In that quiet, so much love can be exchanged. What's most important to remember in all of this is that death, like birth, is a process. It doesn't come all at once, and it doesn't follow a strict timeline. Everyone walks their own path. And while it can be painful to witness someone you love nearing that final stage, it can also be a time of incredible closeness, healing, and connection. If you're seeing these signs in someone you care about, or even in yourself, don't rush to conclusions. These signs are not a guarantee that life is ending soon, but they are signals to slow down, pay attention, and open our hearts. You don't have to do everything perfectly. You don't have to have all the answers. Just be there, be kind, and trust that even in these quiet, uncertain moments, love is doing its most powerful work. Here's to the courage it takes to love someone through every stage of life, and to the strength it takes to be fully present when the days grow tender.